From antiquity to modern sages, the greatest thinkers, philosophers, mystics, and sages of East and West have all sought to answer the same fundamental question: what is the ultimate reality behind the world and behind ourselves? For Socrates, the divine is not an external myth, nor a distant being. It is what calls the moral conscience from within the human being. God is linked to the good, to truth, and to that inner voice that urges us toward justice. With Plato, God becomes a supreme intelligence, a principle of order that makes the world intelligible. Reality is not chaotic. It follows a higher reason. To know is already to rise toward the divine. Later, Spinoza goes even further. For him, God is not separate from the world. God is reality itself, the infinite substance expressed through the laws of nature. God is not an external judge, but the being of all that exists. In the East, Taoism, expressed by Laozi, speaks of the Tao, an ultimate reality without form, without name, impossible to grasp through words. The Tao does not command, it allows things to be. It is the silent source of all harmony. Modern thinkers such as Jiddu Krishnamurti assert that every image of God is a projection of the ego. Ultimate truth is not found in belief systems, but in direct perception, free from fear and conditioning, and mystics like Rumi say that God is neither distant nor hidden. He is closer to you than your breath. It is not God who is absent, but the human heart that is veiled. There is an ultimate reality. It transcends words and images. The main obstacle is not God. But the ego God is not known by belief alone. But through inner transformation, wisdom is measured by justice, clarity, and inner peace for the great thinkers. God is not an object to believe in, but a reality to be discovered by becoming more truthful, more just, and more conscious. Who is God according to Islam? In Islam, God, Allah, is not an abstract idea, nor a distant image placed somewhere in the sky. He is the living reality, the absolute source of all existence, of all life, all consciousness, all light. Nothing exists by itself. Every breath, every heartbeat, every moment of awareness is a continuously renewed gift. The Quran begins with these words: "In the name of God, the most merciful, the most compassionate." Before law, before judgment, even before responsibility, God introduces himself through mercy. The foundation of existence is not harshness, but love. Reality is not hostile, it is filled with meaning. In Islam, God is absolutely transcendent. Nothing resembles him. No form can contain him. No image can represent him. Whatever the mind imagines, God is beyond it. And yet, this same God is infinitely close. The Quran says, "We are closer to the human being than his jugular vein." God is not far. He is not absent. He is not to be sought elsewhere than in the very mystery of your existence. God is not distant. It is the human heart that becomes veiled when it hardens, when it fills with fear, pride, or forgetfulness. The Quran also says, "God is the light of the heavens and the earth." This light is not physical. It illuminates the mind, soothes the soul, and guides the heart. Where there is truth, there is a trace of this light. Where there is justice, there is a trace of this light. Where there is sincere love, there is a trace of this light. In Islam, God is known through his names: the merciful, the gentle, the forgiving, the just, the wise, the ever-living. Each name is an inner doorway. The Muslim sage Al-Ghazali said, "To know God without purifying the heart is like trying to see light with closed eyes." The mystics of Islam, like Rumi, taught that when the ego fades, the presence appears. Drawing closer to God is not escaping the world. It is becoming a source of peace within it. It is allowing the light to pass through our words, our actions, our silence. The great thinkers of humanity and Islam meet on one essential truth: God is not merely a belief, but a reality to be lived. Philosophy and universal wisdom seek God through reason, inner experience, and the dissolution of the ego. Islam names this reality, reveals it, and establishes a living relationship between the Creator and the human heart. The thinkers say God is discovered through inner transformation. Islam says God reveals himself, and transformation is the response. Where philosophy searches for meaning, Islam affirms the source. Where humanity ascends toward mystery, God, in Islam, descends through mercy. Final sentence spoken very slowly: God is the light of the heavens and the earth, beyond all forms, yet closer than our breath. And this light still lives today in hearts that love. A story of meeting God. He was walking alone, not because he had left humanity behind, but because he had exhausted all answers. His heart was heavy with questions, burdened with mistakes, worn down by the fear of not being enough. He had prayed with his lips, but his soul remained silent. That night he lifted his eyes to the sky, not to ask, not to explain, only to be truthful. Then, without voice and without form, the presence made itself felt, not as a shock, but as peace, not as a vision, but as certainty. He suddenly understood that God was not far, that he had never been far. It was not God who had drawn closer. It was the veil that had fallen. In the silence of his heart he heard without sound, "I knew you before you knew yourself. I saw you when you doubted. I carried you when you thought you would fall." A sweetness filled him, stronger than shame, wider than fear. He understood that God had not come to judge, but to heal, not to condemn, but to raise him up. He remembered the words of the Koran, "My mercy encompasses all things," and for the first time he understood that these words were not a distant promise, but a present reality. Tears flowed, not from sorrow, but from return. He understood that repentance was not humiliation, but coming home. When he stood up, the world was the same, but he was different. He had not seen God. He had not heard a voice, but his heart knew. For in Islam, meeting God is not seeing him with the eyes, but being seen by him, and finally allowing oneself to be loved.